We are live. Welcome to this season finale of the RedBlue podcast. It's RedBlue podcast number 24, and today we will mix up a few things. You can now present yourself, co-host.
Yep, Cole, as always. Yeah, how's your day been, Multi?
I just woke up. Actually, no,
Same.
I woke up a bit earlier, but I had a good day. Look, here's the thing. My sleeping schedule since I no more work is weird, really weird. I try my best to go to sleep earlier, but I wake up around the same time I used to, so I feel like I always oversleep. That's messed up.
Uh, yeah, well, you mean, for me, it's either like that or the opposite because of late. Doesn't matter what time I fall asleep at, I always wake up at around like 8 a.m. now. And before it used to be, I always wake up at like 5 p.m. no matter what when I had a later sleep schedule, so I was kind of fucked there. I mean, the past few days, so I would then kind of pass out for another 4 hours afterwards. So after like staying up for 2 hours the first time, so
My. So, when I said we will mix up a few things, a lot of things happened uh, since the last podcast we had. DC
yeah.
wise, uh, let's start off with Patty Jenkins. Have you heard what's going on with her,
Um,
or are you out of the
I
loop?
believe I read the Twitter thing and I didn't read the full thing, but I did read the first part of it, and I was just like, holy fuck, this is about as bad of a twit longer thing you can type up. Sounds so ungrateful and pissy and like self-arrogant. Holy fuck, Jesus Christ. So anyway, I have no problem with her being gone from all these projects. Just like Chloe Zhao, who's still working on Eternal, so sadly the second one, and hopefully Ryan Johnson will be gone from those Star Wars films because yeah, because she hasn't really proven herself at all yet. Okay, I will say her first film, I believe was Monster, and I don't know if you ever watched it, but it was about like this, I believe, this serial killer. It was played by Charlize Theron, and she was so amazing in it that she won the Oscar for Best Lead Actress in it. So yeah, it was a great film, but but Patty Jenkins wasn't the reason for it. It was the actress and the premise. Because of that, she got all these IPs to work with. Because of that, even though it wasn't her who was the reason. So then Wonder Woman turned out generic. I mean, at least in my opinion, like it was competent, but whatever. And then Wonder Woman 2 was a piece of shit, especially the writers. And then other projects she was working on looked like pieces of shit. Cleopatra, Rogue Squadron, and others that were canceled because two other films that were literally canceled because they were so shit. Just like what they tried saying about Batgirl, even though honestly Batgirl didn't look as bad in comparison to her fucking project. So yeah, I have no not gonna miss her. How about you prove yourself and then you can work on these IPs, all right?
I agree 100%, and I feel like her career is over, like more than over. Like, Wonder Woman 2 did damage her brand, but that
Yeah.
whole drama made it worse. And her posting like that, like, she doesn't really
See, I
deny
don't know the
it.
full drama. I do not know the full drama, but all I know is that because I didn't read the full thing or know about what happened exactly. All I know though is I read the first part of it, and yeah, she just sounded so arrogant and like just the worst way you can respond to something ever while also not denying it. It's like, holy fuck.
The drama is based on what I've heard here and there, coming from a lot of different sources. Um, she was really hard to work with. She had traits of difference with people, and she is a crybaby and she walks away when things are not the way she wants it because she is a big girl boss. And considering Wonder Woman 2, that was her idea, I'm not surprised that's the kind of person she is. Because most of the time, the artists, they splash things they are in their art without necessarily wanting to do so. Their art reflects who they are. So when I hear these stories about her being a girl boss, it's not that hard to believe, and it's not that hard to believe that yes, she is hard on set. Yes, she is hard to work with. So that's the drama. She's hard to work with,
Yeah. Well,
and
I mean, I will say there are many directors who are hard to work with, like quote unquote, and in recent time they've been dying down. Obviously, a lot of people calling him out, like David O. Russell, which is a whole other story. But yeah, there are a lot of directors who are hard to work with. Sometimes it can be a positive thing. No, sometimes it can be a negative thing. And also, when it comes to, I mean, that girl boss shit. I mean, like, we see it with many directors, like male and female.
yeah,
So I just as long listen, as long as you put, you know, money where your fucking mouth is, wherever the line is, then I wouldn't care as much. Like Jane Champion, I mean, she said some stupid shit here and there, like recently, and like like I remember when she won best director, like Golden Globe or BAFTA or whatever, and she's like, and she like then praised this, other film, King Richard, about the fucking Serena Venus Williams, and she said some stupid line like, I mean, unlike them, I competed in a category with a bunch of male directors, not realizing that the Williams sisters have competed against male athletes before in real life. So yeah, stupid shit, and she's also a bit of a fem, but not an annoying one though. Honestly, not an annoying one. And that time she called out fucking whoever it was again who said some something stupid about fucking like some borderline homophobic thing. Like yeah, Sam Elliott. Yeah, I was spot on. So whatever, but she put her money where her mouth is. She makes great films. She made The Power
yeah.
of the Dog, which yeah, she won Best Director for. And yeah, that's a good female director, not fucking Chloe Zhao or Patty Jenkins. That's a good female director. So yeah, anyway, and there are male directors who fall into the category as well, just the
Yeah.
opposite sex. Like I'm sure people could, if Quentin Tarantino was female and he did the shit he did, then he would get a lot more hate than he does, whether you agree with it or not, just because of how much shit like edgy, spicy takes he makes.
Yeah.
People usually have like a bias when it comes to when a female director does it in comparison. So I don't really care as much about that as long as you just aren't so fucking arrogant and you again put your money where your mouth is. But yeah, Patty Jenkins hasn't done that at all.
If she was a good director, if she had only did good work, I don't think people would speak about that, and
Hmm.
maybe we would not even know there's a lot of issues with her working with her, and uh, like the way it's framed, it must be her way, and her way is the best, and she doesn't take any advice. She doesn't care about what other people say, and uh, I was actually kind of surprised that James Gunn is responded to that tweet, saying that wasn't that hard. So I think James Gunn is doing his best to like be strong and show how cool he is with other people, even if they clash. I think James Gunn is really smart about what he is doing because he did responded to the post she made, and the way he responded was interesting because he's like, yeah, we have no issues, but yeah, that it's hard for me to explain how he framed it, but based on what he
Yeah, well, I
said,
mean, yeah, I know what you mean. He framed it, yeah, very professionally. Yeah, again, whether how much of it is true or not, or any or all of it, we'll never quite know. But nonetheless, you just leave and send your regards and say your shit, professionally, like James Gunn did, unlike
yeah.
what a certain someone did.
Yeah, so that summarized well what's going on with that. So I think she's over. Patty Jenkins is over. Like, she's drama, and people kind of wake up to it, and I don't see her getting hired again. She may do independent stuff, but I don't see her working on big project anymore because she looked like a ungrateful person. She looked like someone that just likes drama to create drama, and that like her way is the only way. And
Mhm.
usually when there are rumors, what I say is take it as a grain of salt, but keep in mind when there's a fire, there's smoke. So behind rumors, there are lies for sure, but there are also truths. Like, it's always like 50-50 the way I see it. Except if your source is very reliable, then it's more like a 70/25 because your source still has some bias towards something. So it's not the full truth. But I think there's clearly something wrong with Patty Jenkins, and people know it in the industry. That's why I think she's over. And to be honest, I don't think she is such a big waste because we all have seen Wonder Woman 2, and when I've seen it, I wasn't as critical as now, and I still had issues, and I still hated the guts out of this movie.
Yeah,
I'm sure if I would ever rewatch it on a more critical lens, trying to pick it apart the same way we do with every movies and shows we cover here, I think I would find
yeah,
more issues, and the movie would get only worse.
yeah. Yeah, it is terrible. The only saving grace in that is some of the chemistry with Chris Pine and Gal Gadot is still there, but outside of that, yeah. And yeah, the first one again, a lot of people praised it at the time, but again, I think people were just going way too easy on it because it was like one of the first, outside of being, like the ones we've always seen on screen before, Superman and Batman. It was the first It was the first. And had low expectations, and people wanted a Wonder Woman film for ages, like 100 fucking years. So, and they it was at least did a competent, safe job, and a lot of people were surprised that Gal Gadot actually did an all right job in the first one and had the spirit of it. Let's just not talk about the rest of her Wonder Woman performances and everything else, or all for other performances in every other film in general after that. But yeah, and I think, and yeah, our chemistry of Chris Pine was good. Yeah, there's not really a great villain and stuff, and there's not like really a great arc, but yeah, but I think people are just going too easy on it at the time because of that. Like, if you rewatch it, it is generic as fuck. It is way too safe. And yeah, it's like it's just predictable shit. They reveal like they reveal the twist of her like 10 minutes in with the line her mother or whoever was saying while she was training on the fucking island, like when she was doing that flip in slow motion. She must not know who she or what she can do. It's like, okay, you fucking idiot. And there's so many issues with it, and it's like it's still, I think, a between a below average to solid film. I would not call it a very good film, though. Again, I think people, and I think if most people rewatch it today and judge it a bit more after after going too easy on it at the time, they would not like it as much. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, I'm actually scared to rewatch it because I remember enjoying it a lot, but back in the day I wasn't as critical as I am
Yeah,
right
well, I
now.
just went
So
easy on it because I wanted one for a while and at least did a competent job. So I'm like, okay, I'm happy. But the more that I looked over it, I'm like, oh fuck. Like
So
again, it's still decent, but fuck, it's not great, people.
I agree. I agree. Now, except if you'd like to add something on Patty Jenkins, there's another news, and I think that one will be
Yeah.
shorter.
Yeah, I don't know what's been going on, but ever since we started talking about this, my throat has now all of a sudden been better. I'm just talking right now. Like,
That's
talking
good.
about shit is improving my sickness. Holy shit.
That's the cure. You need to speak to cure
Yes.
yourself and heal.
Yes. Yeah, I need a roast shit director. Nice. So let's continue.
Okay, so the next news. The Flash final season starts in February. I think it's like February 8th based on what I've seen. Maybe
Yeah.
it's within that week. So, this means we have something new to cover in February, 2 months. What do you expect from that final season?
In February for what again?
The Flash final
Right.
season. The ending.
Uh, just as long as they take their time with it and don't rush it like a certain finale. Cough, cough. Then I'll be. Then that's good enough because I mean I wasn't a huge fan of that show anyway at all. I was kind of mediocre for the most part overall. There were some good seasons and good aspects of it. Now that I watched it because I was forced to with MSK to for some of his reviews because K Dots and shit wouldn't do it with him. And like so, I sort of got he had me on for like 8 episode reviews total where I didn't even watch the show up at all. By that point, I didn't watch the show at all. I knew nothing about it and I didn't watch the episodes, but he just had me on just so he could have somebody to talk to, and I pretended like I watched it.
Okay,
But anyway,
since
I will say though the Greg Gustin and the and other cast members they at least like and they had some good chemistry. So I'll say that that's a positive, and
yeah.
there were some good overarching story, whatever you call it, storylines. But overall, wasn't the biggest fan of it. But just do a competent job and just take your time with it, and that's all. Just end it slowly, steadily.
Not
Take
be
your
too
time.
fast, not too rushed.
Yeah,
So that's funny because I am currently rewatching the show because the show is ending, and like any other show that has ended, comic book show at least, I do a retrospective. So I basically cover the entire show. I cover like viewership. I cover somewhat of a critique of the season. Like if someone watched that video, it's like him watching the big things that happens in the show and if the show performed well and if you know what I mean, like that's the kind of stuff I did. I already did
yeah,
mini retrospective in the past. So right now I'm working on the Flash. Man, season 1 was worse than what I remembered. That was still somewhat fine, but that was worse than what I remember. Like much worse. I always thought like season 1 was really good, but it wasn't that good. Like overall, it was watchable. I enjoyed it, but you watch it years later and you realize it has much more flaws, and you realize the show won't grow well. You know, it won't flourish well with years. It's not like wine, you know. It'll only get
yeah.
worse. Season 2 was actually the same. Season 2 is really good. I really liked it a lot. Now, right now, I'm just done watching season 3, and it was actually a bit better than what I remembered, but it was still bad, and other aspect of it was much worse than what I remembered. So I'm like, okay, so the first half is watchable, but the ending is so godly awful, and now I am scared for season 4. So I go in pain and I rewatch that.
Hmm.
They have so many good ideas, but the writing is on the wall. It's so sad. Like even season 1, uh, like there was a lot of plot convenience, a lot of plot device character, and a lot of things that didn't really make sense if you take a look with a critical lens. But overall, the product was still interesting. It was still entertaining and good. But as the show went on, it became worse and worse. Even me, I tried my best to defend the show, and I do think season 8 was the best season since season 2. And as I rewatch the entire show, I still think season 8 is better than 3, but I will need to rewatch 8. I'm really curious to see how it goes. I'm really scared by season 5 because season 5 is hands down one of the worst thing I've seen on TV. Like even without a critical lens, I could tear it apart. So
Yeah.
I'm freaking scared about that one. So I really hope season 9 will do good, and I really hope they close the show well. Like I've seen many show ending on their own term, like Arrow ended on its own term, and the issue they did with Arrow was trying to make a new spin-off that kind of ruined parts of season 8. But overall, season 8 was still very good. And I've seen it not that long ago. I've seen it like 3 months ago, 4 months ago. No,
Yeah.
actually, maybe a bit more. So there are a lot of shows I've seen with a good ending. So that's all I'm asking for the Flash. I want a good final season, and I don't want vibes from like past season 3 because season 3 was really painful. So I'm hoping the best. I don't think it will be as bad as Titan. Even if it goes bad, I don't think it will ever be as bad as Titans.
No, it won't. But
So this is us moving to Titans. Did you watch episode 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or you only have seen a few of them?
I have, but once again, I have really nothing to say about it. Just um, because I try my best to try to remember some stuff to talk about more in detail this time, but it is just so forgettable and generic to me, the show,
Yeah.
that, yeah, it's just like Gotham, but with Gotham, I remembered a lot more still, even despite that, but this is just like, it's like having dementia. But when we get to literally the single episodes, like episode 7, 8, 9 weekly, then maybe yeah, I should do better job, I guess, at that point. But
Yeah.
as of right now, I mean, yeah, all I'll say though is it's kind of embarrassing when the fucking child actors are as good or better than the adult actors in this, and that scene where the dude just like screams in the forest and then collapses was hilarious to watch. And
Oh
yeah,
my.
but I
Titan.
mean, what did you think? I don't
Titan.
know. Do you like this? Yeah, do you like the storyline they're doing with like after Lex Luthor died and they arrested him? Like, do you like that storyline they're doing, or?
I actually like it a lot because that creates uh, some kind of question inside of Connor, and that makes Connor doubt the good way, and this is why he's
Yeah,
slowly turning into a villain. So, at
yeah,
first, when it first came out this way, I was like, it doesn't make sense. It's bad. It's poorly written. But then I kind of see what they are doing and why they did this, and I'm
yeah.
actually
Oh, I see
more
what
on
they're doing.
board.
I just don't like the execution.
Yeah, I think at first it was one of my issue because I really thought the plot was stupid, like the writing was stupid. But then I kind of see what they want to do with Connor, and I like that aspect of it. But I still think it could have been done better. And we mentioned Gotham earlier, and when I look back to Titans, I think Titans is just much worse, and it's sad because they look like they have more money. They look like they have more money, I think, because the cast is almost as big, and they have much more CGI involved. So either they basically volunteer these actors, or they really have more money than Gotham, and when you have more money, man, I don't know, hire better writer. It's so sad. Like, um, there are some episodes of Titan that are really good, but then you have the really bad. And when it's bad, it's really bad. It's like worse than CW because it's boring. And boring is not really an argument for critique, but let's be honest, the pacing is so bad.
Yeah.
It's so sad, man. Titan, I wish the show was much better. It has a lot of good ideas. Some of the characters are fine, but they need better writer to back this one up. So now we will dive a bit deeper into episode number 2. So what did you think of episode number 2?
Um. Uh. I. I don't know. I like what they set up, but I didn't like the execution. I thought it was silly.
Yeah, yeah, I fully understand where you are coming from. Um, I guess I will go on with my issues. Pacing, terrible pacing, but that's something really
As
recurring.
always.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
recurring with Titan. I think season 3 had a much better pacing, and I don't remember season 3 having that many pacing issue. It had here and there for sure. It had, but it didn't feel as often as this season or the other two season. Now, the next issue, I marked down. First time I noticed magic doesn't seem to have any rules, and it does anything the plot need to. So what I mean by there is, when you have magic and when it's written by competent writers, they set up rules. Like even sci-fi, they set up sci-fi rules, and magic it's the same thing. Like, when magic is turned into just like that thing that will solve the plot, it's not good writing. It's not interesting, and this is the first time I notice it. So this means this is really bad, because season 1 still had a bit of magic, if I remember correctly, and season 2 as well, at some extent, had some magic. Even season 3, because in season 3 people die and come back from the dead, you know? So we had magic for 3 seasons, but this time around I really realized these writers, they just throw magic on the wall as the answer to everything. And that bothers me so much. I'm like, what the
Oh, that's
fuck is
kind of like
going
this
on?
whole show, isn't it? Like for some reason, anytime there's magic or anytime it just feels like there's no stakes in this entire show. Like it actually just feels like main characters just walking around doing fuck all with no care because they know they have plot armor and yeah, nothing will. It's just
And
a waste.
it's that issue of plot armor is even worse because of season 3, because we realize, oh, there's some kind of afterlife thing in season 3. So it's even worse. Like, there, you said it, people have plot armor, they won't die, and it's just really bad. Um,
It's like going to a boring party with some old friends who you just like hate now. It's like watching that. Oh my god.
Now, after that magic issue, pacing again. Are you kidding me? 2 times pacing. So this really hurt this episode a lot. And when I look
It
back
hurts every episode.
well, when I look back at the first episode, I don't see. Oh, I see pacing only once. So pacing only happened to be bad once, but episode 2 is double up, you know? Next issue. Raven is the key to everything. Okay. Um, that goes in line with the magic. Like, in this episode, she felt like she was the response, the answer. Like, she will solve stuff because she can, you know, and because the plot wants her to solve everything, you know, and I could understand because she didn't add that much material in season 3, but I still think that's not a true reason to do such thing. And she is so powerful and so broken this season. I'm like, it's absurd. Uh, I say that, but then the next issue I have will contradict what I just mentioned about her being so broken. Another storyline when we nerf someone. Why? Why? I hate it when superhero TV show do that. The Flash did it in season 1. I skipped that episode when I rewatched because I knew how bad the episode was. I skipped 2 episodes from the second season of The Flash because they did the same kind of crap. You're still a superhero even without your power. I'm like, that kind of storyline has been overdone by too many people. And sometimes it's actually much better. I will give a good example. As much as I hated Smallville 5th season, when they started the 5th season, they took away Clark power as a consequence to what he did. Now, this was good because this was in line with the theme of consequence. And this was good because it added tension. And he ended up dying in 1 episode. Then he was brought back. But anyway, I think Smallville was the only show where I was fine with the superhero losing his power for the plot to happen, you know? But with Titan, I was so bothered by it. And the appeal of Raven is her power set. She's interesting because of her power, not really the character, because the character is bland. She is interesting because she does magic. And what they do, they take away magic. And now, just like The Flash, I suspect they did that because they wanted to save money. Why? Why? What's your take on
I mean, a
that?
new character can be interesting. We've seen it in Teen Titans. Like, it's not just interesting because of magic. It's just the writers aren't skilled enough to do that. We all know that.
Yeah, I fully agree with this. So what's your take on that plot with where they nerf Raven because the plot wants that to happen?
Um, yeah, it's just it's not interesting, and it's clearly for cost and to spread out the show, and because they couldn't think of any better ideas to make her have a use in the show, because they just nerfed her to the point where she's the most. I keep forgetting she's even in the show, and that she's Raven because she's just so pointless. The rest of it, so yeah, I don't really care about it, and yeah, it's pretty shitty. But the writers are gonna do whatever.
So now that my issues are out of the way, I still had some likes to that episode. I did enjoy the Connor stuff. Well, not at the moment. I enjoyed it after that when I've seen the kind of payoff where he is shaving his head and becoming more like Lex. But at the time, I was like, it's somewhat interesting how Dick and Corey try to like pep talk Connor and like try to tell him we got your back. Um, I also liked a lot Connor growth since season 2. What I mean by there is he feels more mature than what he used to be, and this is good. Is it because they suddenly hired someone competent to write that scene? I don't know, but what I mean by there is, um, he used to just think like a child. If you remember correctly, he was a child, and it was explained in the show, and that was some kind of rule they had. In season 3, he slowly became more mature, more adult, but he was still somewhat of a teenager. And now this season, he feels like more like a young adult. And I kind of like that aspect of it because that shows that they don't want the character to remain the same. But that's the only character that gets that kind of treatment. And it's kind of sad because I feel like the rest of the cast doesn't really grow or change. He's the only one that really changed. But the fact that he changed since season 2, I like that aspect of it. And I will give them credit for that. Uh, Next one, Tim Beast Boy. They had a scene together, but, well, episode 2 was a blur for me, so I can't really remember what happened in that scene. But that was in my likes. Corey was in my likes. The guy dying, so I guess that's when they killed the family, I think. Raven uh, magicking her way to understand what's going on. Raven. So Raven was the best part of that episode based on my notes. She was the best part of the episode, and I actually enjoyed the music a lot here again. Um, I marked down Connor is smart, and that's good. I like when they depict character as being smart, but I don't remember why because I've seen that episode like 2 weeks ago because I thought we would cover 1, 2, 3 last week. Um, the Titans action sequence. There was an action sequence that episode. I think that was like in the kind of warehouse where they found lots of bodies. I think, or maybe that's episode 3. I can't remember. Sebastian has a really bad day. Everything goes wrong. That was interesting. Sebastian is the interesting part of that season. I will say this. He is much more interesting than his mother, for sure. The Connor scene, I can't remember that. So, most of episode 2 was actually a blur for me. I did mark down lots of good stuff I liked, but I can't really remember what I really liked. These are vague notes. So, I guess we can move on to, like, our grade for this episode. What was your grade out of 10?
2.5. So it was really silly.
Okay. Mine was 7 out of 10. I think that episode was watchable based on my notes. It wasn't amazing, but it was watchable. And it's sad because I feel like they cannot keep up with the good episode. I liked the first episode much more, and the third episode as well. Uh, Speaking about the third episode, let's move on to the third episode. Do you remember it well enough, or not really? Because it's a blur, like you said, it's too generic. That's like the
Yeah,
episode
can you hear the
after they fought
background?
the witch and Raven lost her power. That's the
Yeah,
episode right after it.
yeah. Hold on. Are you? Can you hear any background noise?
No.
Okay, because I'm just making sure because I am playing something in the background. Because yeah, I'm just trying to skip over while we talk about each episode. I'm just skipping over some parts to try to remember bits of
Okay.
it. That I can. But yeah, I mean, episode 3. Are we on now?
Yeah.
Uh, well, this was the opposite of silly. It was just boring for me. It was very bland, pretty poor cinematography, and visuals, outside of like one moment maybe. Yeah, this was just not a fun episode to watch. Nothing of it interests me really, besides maybe one moment, but, I mean, what did you think of it? I will say it is, more well done in other aspects this episode than others because it's more how do you say confined or whatever the word is, but or concealed whatever the word is, but yeah, I mean it's not saying much. But what did you think?
Based on my notes and the grades of every episode, that was hands down my favorite, and I cannot remember why. First of all, I only got one issue, and that's pacing, and pacing only comes up once. So maybe they could cut off a few minutes, but I didn't feel like they needed to cut off more than just a few minutes. Um, Now, I will admit I enjoyed that episode a lot, and after watching this, I was excited to see what happened next. I was like, Okay, we got a good episode, a average one, and a great one. So I'm looking forward to see what happens next. So that's like a roller coaster, you know? You open up an episode of Titan, you don't know if you will like it or hate it, but you just do the right and see what happens next, you know? That's how I felt. Um, that episode was really good, and I remember giving some 9.7 to season 3 and 2. I don't think I gave any 9.7 in. I already gave away my grade because I like that episode a lot. But I don't remember giving my grade like that this high in season 1. Maybe I did one episode. But I think among all of the 9.7, that was my favorite one. I think Jinx was hands down the best part of this episode.
Uh, yeah, I mean, it just made me wish we were watching Arcane Jinx instead.
I can understand how you feel. I can fully understand it. Uh,
Again, this is the more well-made episode because of it's more confined, but
yeah.
I just thought it was boring. Because again, I didn't care about the other stuff prior, so it's hard for me to care about shit that still happens here. But I mean, if you are able to easier though, then I can understand like in this episode. But I just, I'll give it, I give it some props, but and it maybe I don't know. It's just there's no tension.
Yeah.
They do just a poor job of tension overall in this. There's like none.
They
It's
killed
like
any tension with
non-existent.
season 3. They
Yeah, I
killed
mean,
any
it's
tension.
just this is anti-tension. It's like there's more tension in Gotham, the show where they just keep reviving everybody. Like it's fucking insane, but whatever.
But they also revive everybody got in Titans. I mean, Dig died.
Yeah, yeah, which is disgraceful. You should not do that with a show called Titans. That's not what you want to do with this IP. You don't want to just revive everybody. That's have you actually read your
MJ.
fucking source material?
Or Aang, freaking Aang. I'm like, bruh, he could have
Yeah,
came
well,
back to
they made
life,
it show.
but he decided to stay there just because they didn't want to keep the actor. Or like that actor
Uh,
costs too much. Let leave
yeah,
it there.
yeah. It's like, yeah, he keeps ordering expensive takeout. Let's not revive him. Save some cost.
um, yeah. Look, I liked how they depicted well what's going on when Raven loses her power. That was actually good. I ate the guts out of that story, but I will admit it. The depiction of how different this is for her is good. That was one of the best parts of that. And I've seen many storyline where they tell you what's going on when the character loses power. And here, I think it was well done. That aspect is well done. I don't like the storyline at its core, but I think the impact on the character is actually good. I still ate the guts out of that storyline. I still ate it so much. Connor guilt, because he could not save someone. I can't remember who he didn't save. Maybe that was like Lex. I can't really remember because that episode again. I've seen it 2 weeks ago.
Who Connor couldn't save.
Yeah, probably Lex. That's the only person
Uh,
I have in mind. Oh, maybe it's some.
of was
Ank.
it?
Maybe not being able to save Ank in season 2, 3,
Hmm.
when he had a bomb in his chest. Maybe that's
Yeah.
Connor guilt over
Yeah. Okay.
Ank
So it
dying.
wasn't Dove. Okay.
No, it was Ank. Dove didn't die. She's still alive, but she retired.
Okay.
That's Ank that
Okay.
died.
Okay. Okay.
Um, Beast Boy, interesting as usual. I guess that's his vision and his power is tapping into magic. But I feel like he's the
Mhm.
weirdest character around because he feels like a MacGuffin. It feels like the answer to everything, just like magic, and that kind of bothers me a lot. I'm like, I enjoy that character, but letting him doing so much things and just saying, "Oh yeah, it's because reason," it's not enough for me. Like, he feel like he let down. Beast Boy was fine in season one. Beast Boy had good things in season two, but past the good thing and then the season three, Beast Boy just felt like a passenger. But what I mean by there is, he doesn't really matter. He's not important to the story. He's just around because they want an actor to bounce back on. That's the only reason why Beast Boy is around. And I feel like this season they are like, you feel like he's not really a character, so let's just give him lots of things to do just to fix plot or to fix issues, you know. But as a character, he's not that
Yeah.
great. I feel like he's the
I agree.
I think he's like the biggest plot device character. Even if I enjoy him, I feel like he's like the biggest plot device character we got in the show right now. Um, Connor again, Corey again, the guy killing himself. This I can't remember. Oh, I think I remember. Sebastian went at a meeting, and as he was speaking with the guy just picked scissors and dive it into his own eyes and died. That was grim. That was dark. I like
Yeah.
I will be honest. That kind of really gore scene. I closed my eyes, but I like the idea. You know, it's too much for me, but I like the idea. Tim's training, so I like the fact that Tim's is training. So when he will use the staff, that will make a bit of sense. Uh, Dick and Jinx, Jinx and Dick. So each scene between Jinx and Dick, I like them. There was an action sequence in that episode. I guess that's when Dick fought people in the bar. I like that. Dick again, Corey, Connor, Cliffhanger. So overall, that episode 9.7 out of 10. I was very entertained, and I was looking forward to see what happened next. And then what happened next happened.
Hmm.
What's your grade or anything else you'd like to add about about episode three?
um, no, that's about it. But oh, what's the grade? I'll go 3.75.
I like all you graded
Yeah,
3.75.
I'm sorry. I really don't like this show. I'm sorry.
That's fine. No, that's fine. Difference of opinion is what matters.
Yeah.
I just think it's funny 3.75. Even me, I don't do 7.5.
Yeah.
I do 7 when it's 9.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to be as generous as possible with this show, but
I like
so
that. I
I'm
like
going
that.
down that route. Otherwise, I wouldn't.
You're the best co-host we can have. Thank you very much. Okay, episode 4. Oh my, oh my. I've seen it Monday because I was like, we will cover it Tuesday, but we end up doing it Wednesday, but that's fine. But oh my, that episode, bruh. Cannot wait to hear what you have to say about that one. So I'll let you start.
Well, I mean, uh, well, I will say, I did like some of the lighten this time around.
Oh, really?
There's a positive. Yeah, some of the lighten. Yeah, that actually which is a rarity for this show. So yeah, there we
Really?
go.
You like the
Yeah,
lightning?
so no, the
Yeah, I know the
lighten. Don't.
lightning. Yeah,
Yeah,
lightning.
yeah, because all the others just looked like it was way too bright than the area they were actually in. But this one is actually somewhat realistic. Okay, and let's see. You know, in the opening there were some of the dialogue wasn't terrible.
Some of
Uh,
the dialogue. That's very important. Some.
yeah, yeah. Then the rest was like I was watching a bad episode of like a secret agent show. That's the best way to describe it. Yeah, I don't really know where to rank this with the others because at this point my expectations were so low. Like it didn't shock me how bad it was compared to others. But I mean, maybe if I watched this before some other episodes, then it would be really shocking. But I don't know. What about you?
I was actually shocked on how bad that episode was. That's that's one of the worst one the show had so far.
Uh,
And
Honestly, I couldn't tell the difference with others,
no, I could tell,
which is a
bro.
bad thing.
That's why when I came back from episode 3 and I see this, I'm like, what happened? Did you fire the guy that worked on episode 3 and you hired someone else there?
Yeah, they're
Oh
playing hot potato.
my. They did fire the guy that worked on episode 3 and then they hired someone new for episode 4. Oh my, that episode
Yeah,
was
they
so
hired one of the
bad.
She-Hulk writers.
Yeah, I actually think they did. It was so bad, bro. Okay, so let's start off with my first issue. Plot convenience, the bar scene. Um actually I can't remember what was the plot convenience. I guess maybe that was like two people meeting at the right time, right moment there. I think. I actually can't remember that bar scene. Because I remember the bar scene where they fight, but I don't remember the other bar scene in episode 4.
Listen, there are so many bar scenes in the show that makes me want to drink.
I feel you, I get that feeling. So I
Yeah,
can't remember
actually,
which
you
bar
know, I
scene.
have some drinks right here. I'm gonna open one up. Just talking about this is make me wanna.
And I've seen that Monday. I've seen that Monday and I have hard time remembering. So after that bar scene, pacing. Pacing. So two
Yeah,
pacing in a row. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And now, bad lightning. That's why I was surprised you liked the lightning. You know when they were fighting, I could not see shit. I don't know
uh
if
huh.
it's my computer or my website, but
Honestly, I might have any scenes like that. I probably wiped out of my memory again. As I said, I don't remember much about the show. What I mean by lightning is like the kind of like like the shot in the tunnel and the and like some of the glow effects. Like it actually for once looked as bright or as dark as it should have been. Now it might have been too dark or too bright still than what the scene needed, but they at least got the realism right. It didn't look like fucking the sequel to Descent where they're like in a fucking dark cave, but then there's like a bunch of studio light lighting up the whole place that you can easily tell, which this show has had like the whole time. So yeah, but there might have been some shit moments like that, but I mean at least they got the realism right.
yeah, but bruh, when they started the fight scene in underground, the first part of it I could not see shit. I was like, what the fuck? What is
It's a
going on?
metaphor. All
It's
right.
it's after they did some kind of search that's much further in the episode. It's like I think after the episode, something like that. I think that episode was action packed, but anything that wasn't action packed in that episode was bad, and even
Yeah.
parts of the action was really bad. Um,
Uh,
Now in that same area, maybe a bit further, because I remember seeing that the zombies, like people, were magic proof. Because remember, Starfire and Jinx tried to do stuff to like
Mhm.
kill them, but nothing worked.
Yeah.
But it's not explained. That's the first thing. The second thing, they are magic proof, but they can be taken down by punch and kicks. Magic proof, but punch and kicks are enough to put them down. I was like,
That makes sense. Yeah.
I
Well, listen,
was
with the lighting in that fight scene, I think that's like a metaphor for how we're all gonna die soon and not see anything anyway, and that this show is bringing us closer to it by trying to give us a brain aneurysm, right? That's a metaphor. Anyway,
I
yeah,
think the last
the
time.
fighting,
Keep going
yeah.
with this. Keep going. I
Oh
want
no
to
no
say
no!
something.
Just the fight, the thing you just brought up, how that couldn't do it, but then that did. I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense because the thing you have to realize is that magic, uh, magic. Yeah, I got nothing. Sorry.
Oh
I
my!
try my best to try to come up with any reason.
But then suddenly, she can like freeze everyone. Like magic wasn't working before, but because Jinx can do that, she can freeze everyone. Okay.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's a metaphor for how sometimes when you wish for something, it doesn't come true, and then sometimes it still doesn't come true.
Okay.
I don't know.
Next issue.
There's my excuse.
Next issue. Uh, remember that Deathstroke zombie? Well, he lost his head, so he got decapitated,
Yeah.
but he was still able to move afterward.
Deathstroke.
He got
Oh, so
decapitated.
there's a metaphor for not seeing shit. Yeah, there's the metaphor. He had no head, so we couldn't see it with him.
So he got decapitated and he could still walk. So what's the
Yeah.
point of having the head on the body? What the fuck? When I was watching this, I was rolling my eyes.
Um.
I was like, these writers, man, don't they understand the point of having the head on the body? You know, the spine, the brain sending signal for the body to move. You know, don't they understand that?
Um.
Maybe they don't.
Well. I think the metaphor for that is that the writers aren't human and they don't know how to write humans, which is why the show's so bad. So they don't understand how the human head works.
My okay. Um, I think right now I point out enough issues. I don't have any other issues anyway, but I think these issues are really big because they really showcase how stupid these writers are and how bad this
Yeah.
episode was. Now I will admit I liked the opening scene. Dick Curry speaking about Sebastian. The flashbacks were good. Sebastian again. Sebastian is a really good character. I like him a lot. He's entertaining. Much more than his mother, for sure. The action sequence. Now, even if we roast the shit out of it, I will admit it, I was entertained. Even if it was bad entertainment, I was entertained. So I gave point there. There's action, I'm not bored, that's fine. When we load these standard like that, man, we give them a chance to shine. After that, Dick versus Zombie. I guess I like the fight scene, fight choreography. Here again, magic. Magic does everything. Jinx does magic. She pretend to be Sebastian. We don't need an explanation. That's magic. Like, you know, that's magic. Remember when Harry Potter... I don't know if you have seen Harry Potter.
Oh, sorry, my mic was muted. No, I've seen Harry Potter many times.
So,
It has issues, but it's my one of my favorite comfort franchises because it's the one I grew up with. So, and I have a lot of nostalgia for it. And comfort for it, and I love like the world building in it, and I can't wait to play that Hogwarts Legacy game when it comes out. But yeah. So what about it?
Well, remember they have that potion they can drink to change appearance to look like someone else and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They set up rules really good and it's clear, and even if it's magic, they take their time to let you know how that magic works, and they do set up rules. But Titan, they don't know the meaning of rules. They just throw stuff at the wall and they're like, maybe it'll
Well,
stick.
the, I think it's a metaphor for the fact that they're just built different, so they don't need any rules.
Oh my. Connor, again, getting injured showcase that he is also a target of magic, just like Superman. And I'm fine with that. I like when my tank character like Connor do have weaknesses. Uh, that's why like people complain about Superman a lot, but he has weaknesses. And even there, the appeal of Superman is like what he represents. Like he is that godlike being that wants to do his best, but he also wants a normal life, and that's what I like about Superman. He has his weakness as a superhero, like magic, kryptonite. Like sometimes when they make heroes, they want them to be invincible, and I don't really like that aspect when they do that in superhero stuff. So I'm fine with Connor getting stabbed and injured by magic artifact, but I still feel like they should have done a better job at explaining that knife is magic. You know, we need to add canon. We need to explain it for the writer. You know, and that's another bad thing about this show. You need to explain lots of stuff because the writer they just don't know how to explain it. So,
Yep.
uh, final grade on episode 4.
Uh, let's give it a solid. I'll give it a solid 1.5 out of 10. I
Hell
mean,
yeah.
there are many 1.5 out of 10 episodes, so it's not as terrible as compared to others in my opinion. Like I've seen all these issues with many others. They're just all I want to know is how many drugs did all these critics take when they gave season 3 and season 4 a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I don't know, man. These drugs must twist their mind or something. So
Yeah, I mean these must be the same people that like She-Hulk. So
yeah, probably. I will give this season. Maybe it's because I don't know about the comics, but maybe some people do know about the comics, and maybe it's very comic book accurate. I really don't know. Maybe that's the appeal. Some people find it, but even there, if the comics are like that, oh my, the comics are terrible. I don't want to touch them. You remember when I said Stargirl is so good that I want the comics? Titan, like, I think I will never get the comics because if it's really comic book
Titans
accurate,
is
that show.
good. Just no, it's just a load of horse shit. Just get the comics or just watch Teen Titans. One of the two. Either one.
I'm actually
They're
curious to
good
watch
characters.
and
That's just
compare.
made shit.
I'm actually curious to
Yeah.
watch and compare.
Um. I don't understand how this show has fans though. Like this show surprisingly has
Well,
a
it's
good chunk of
DC.
fans. Yeah, like it has a higher rating, a higher score on every site than shows like Stargirl, and Superman and Lois, I believe. Like
It's
I
not on
want to
the
know
CW.
why.
It's not on the CW. I think part of the issue with Superman and Lois and Stargirl, it's on the CW. So some people will just hate it because it's CW. And Titan, it's not CW, so it doesn't get that kind of hate. You know, I think it's more
Yeah,
for a niche audience, and the audience think that CW cannot do anything good. And some people are like, this is what we have for DC. Either we go Titan or like CW, and we like more the edgy and dark stuff we got with Titan, but it's not good. But people may think it is good. No, I can understand why some people see an appeal. I can understand why they somewhat like it. As a critique, I don't get it because I'm not the most critical person, and I can see issues. And I think I was gentle with season 1, 2, and 3. I was honest, but I also think I was gentle because I'm not the best critic out there, and it's clear for me. And I think your points were more accurate to the true value of it. That's why I feel like I was gentle with the first 3 seasons. I think you are much more closer to the truth than me. I
It's
think,
fine if you enjoyed it. Like you enjoyed it though, did
yeah.
you? Or
Well,
yeah, so then
season
that's
one
fine.
was really rough, but I think I've seen worse. Season two
Yeah.
was better than one. Season three was. I still think as the season went on, it got better, but season three is average for me. I enjoyed it, but it was average for me.
Hmm.
I still
Yeah.
think I was a
Now I
bit
will
gentle,
say,
um, but I
you
enjoyed it.
know, when it comes to shows or films like these nowadays, I will say what's lacking from these in comparison to older ones is the older ones even shows on this quality. Like it used to be, they used to always at least like cover a certain audience or do well enough in certain areas where yes that they have all sorts of flaws, but their fan bases instead of like shitting on them for but when they point out the flaws, like by shitting on them or whatnot, and crucifying them, they do it kind of like in a fan way. I don't know how to describe it, but it's like it's like if you're a hardcore fan of something, and then it's like you'll watch something like Star Wars or something, and point out like continuity or whatever you call it, errors
Yeah,
and stuff like that. And they won't do it to like crucify it or like nitpick it that badly. Like, oh, it messed up a little bit here with this edit, so
yeah,
gotta knock it down point 0.5 points. Like, no, they do it at because they're hardcore fans of it. They do it for fun. Like that's part of the joy of in the past of like being a hardcore fan of something. Like you can then admit to the continuity errors and flaws and point it out. Just like with Harry Potter and stuff. Nowadays, it feels like there are so many shows on TV that just feel the same. Like every sci-fi or comic book show just feels the same,
yeah,
but whether they're good or bad, that we don't really get that anymore.
yeah,
And I think Titans honestly sums it up best. Like it is just
yeah.
there is no one that would go to war for Titans.
So,
Oh fuck.
my grade on the fourth episode is 4 out of 10. Uh, I these issues I point out really piss me off so much because this show pretends to do better and pretends to be better, but it's not. I mean, it's the first time I nitpick so much a sequence that lasted what 5 minutes, 10 minutes for a like
Uh-huh.
48-minute episode. So that episode was probably the worst episode the show ever had. I think. Maybe I would need to take a look to my all of my grades, but I don't think it ever went as low as this one. Or if it did went as low as this one is clearly worse than the other one.
You have never gone as low as this. Trust me.
Yeah. So we are similar on a few things. Uh,
Yes, and then I'll be honest with you. I'll try to skimmer through some of it while we're talking to maybe remember some of it, but honestly, I don't even remember much of anything about episode 5 and episode 6, so
I
I'll
actually
let you more
remember.
take over this one.
I actually remember a lot about episode 5, and there was a lot of interesting things in episode
Yeah.
5.
Well, I'll let you take over this more and just
Yeah.
I'll like more hear
I
you this time because I don't remember too much about these last two.
I think episode 5 biggest sin is how poorly executed everything is, because there was a lot of really good things in it. Now I will start off with my first issue. Pacing, as usual, pacing is so stupid. Now, after that, Tim being dumb, because now like Connor um, was kind of controlled by a snake inside of his body, and when he threw up, a snake left his body and went in the HQ, and they basically tried to hide Sebastian. And the other subplot is Sebastian bonding with Raven because they are like brother sister, and bonding with Corey because Corey basically endangered the world to protect Sebastian. And you see, when we point out these things, it looks very interesting, right? I like that aspect of it. But now I dive for a bit. Um, Tim being dumb. So um, there's a snake, and he wants to investigate to prove himself. That's like, oh my, this is terrible. A character that wants to prove himself. It bothers me so much because we had this so many times, and It was done much better, and them being able to escape that snake with plot armor here again. But there was not any tension because we all know people don't really die in Titans. Bad dialogue. Oh my, the dialogue, bro. The dialogue is so awful. Um, all convenient that Raven and Dick meet at the vending machine. So Connor being manipulated by the villain is basically about to kidnap um, um, Sebastian for the bad evil witch, and he basically said, "Yeah, Dick sent me to relieve you, Raven." So Raven goes at the vending machine, and Dick just happens to go at the vending machine at the same time. And now she realized, oh no, Dick never sent Connor, so Connor is just a sleeping agent for the villain. Oh my, oh my, oh my. Pacing, terrible pacing. Magic solving everything again. The entire episode was pointless since the villain captured Sebastian at the end. So that episode lasted for like maybe 40 minutes. I can't remember the runtime, maybe 50. But I feel like they could have cut in half everything. That episode was bad. It has so many good ideas. It can be promising episode with some of the subplot and some of the premise we have. But it's just handled by bad writer that it doesn't matter how good these ideas are if they don't fizzle well together. Um, do you have more fresh memory based on what I said?
Not really. Well, I do, but nothing to go that like reminds me of stuff that make me want to go. Oh yeah, now I want to bring up like this a little bit. Like no, I just hear what you're saying. I'm like yeah. It's like yep, remember that now. Yep, that was meh, yuck, eh, all right, you, like just whatever. I
Now,
mean,
now,
continue.
except if you got something to say, I could go on with some of the things I like because there's still things I like.
You can go on. Honestly, these last two episodes, also my sickness came up a little bit again, so I'm just gonna
Yeah,
take care of that a little bit. But
yeah.
drink some
So,
water here. So just continue, and last two episodes I'll give you my ratings at the end.
yeah.
I'll be listening the whole time.
So, Jinx is a very likable character. I think she is the best character we got right now in the show. She holds the show in her shoulders. She is, well, a plot device, but also a very likable character. She's entertaining to watch. I think she's well casted, and that's the only well written character right now. And it's so sad. Um, Corey living with Sebastian after Connor almost kidnapped Sebastian made sense. I was like, oh, that's actually smart moving him around. Now, Corey again, her struggle like with her protecting the world or killing Sebastian. I like that aspect of it. Next aspect, team meeting, trying to save Connor. I like that aspect, but here I feel like Beast Boy is turned into a plot device. So that may be another issue I could add, but at least they found a somewhat smart way to like um, fix Connor, even if it doesn't really make sense. That sounds to contradict itself, but um, yeah, Tim killing the snake was cool, and because of the training, it was fine. Gar saving Connor, I like that aspect of it. So, yeah, even if there's no tension with the character dying because of season 3, I was still like on the edge of my seat to see if they really save him or if they have the balls to kill a character even if the dead won't stick. I was wondering if they had the balls. Um, because that would mean they kill off two characters, and that would mean they just have no way to stop the bad evil witch. Now I barely spoke about her because I don't care about that evil witch. I actually think she's the awful villain. She's not a good villain. She's just a villain for the sake of being a villain, and it's really sad. I'm like, why are you so lazy to write off a freaking main villain? Sebastian is a much better character. Um, so yeah, episode 5.
Honestly, that villain makes me want to apologize to all the MCU witch villains.
Yeah, I think overall that episode 4.5 out of 10. I had like the issues I had a bit less weight than the issues I had in episode 4, but episode 5 had so many good ideas. It could have been the best episode we had so far because they had a lot of very interesting plot, very interesting things, but it's ended by retards. It's so sad, bro. Man, it's just shocking how bad this is when they have like so many good ideas. I feel like I repeat myself with Titans. Like they just don't have the firepower to deal with all these good ideas they have. So 4.5 out of 10, episode 5. I think it's probably like the second worst episode the show ever had. Maybe it's the third worst. It's up there in the among the worst episodes the show had. What was your grade for episode 5?
Uh, I'll give it a 2 out of 10.
Okay. Moving on to episode 6. Um, Sebastian was interesting at first. Like that was a Sebastian centric episode, and I liked that aspect of it. And I feel like if the entire episode was dedicated to him, it could have been better. Or maybe you dedicate parts of it to Sebastian and parts of it to Connor waking up and becoming slowly like Lex Luthor. That could have been better. I will say this: this episode was much better than 4 and 5, like much better. It wasn't perfect. I will dive deep into my issues, starting with pacing, pacing, pacing. So that episode took forever, and it was long. Um, Now the other issue I had is the very end. Jinx getting stabbed, no tension over someone dying. Now, first of all, Jinx, I said it, she is the best part of this season, and they actually kill her off because I guess her magic tricks cost too much money. And it's bad, it's sad, it's trash. Um, the no tension over someone dying, uh, it's because we know she won't really die. Like, they will save her next week, or maybe if they really lost the right, or if they don't want to spend more money on her, maybe they will really kill her off. like they did to Hank, but I mean, there's no tension. If she really dies, I will be sad because I like the character. But yeah, like it's very hard for me to believe someone will die in this show. Like I believe they may end up killing Connor and Gar in episode 5, but I was stupid to think they even considered the idea. But with Jinx dying, maybe they will say, "Oh, yeah," or that will drive the story. But man, Jinx is the best thing about this season. So I don't know how they will move on with this. If she really dies, and even there, like there's no tension. So it's more shocking if she really dies than if she don't. And if she dies, it's not because they want her dead, it's because they want to save money. That's how I see Titan now. When they kill off a character, it's to save money. What's your take on that? On that?
On what? Sorry.
When Titan kill off a character, it's to save some money.
Um, I mean, listen. At least they're being realistic. At least they're, you know,
Do you
they
think?
realize that they're,
What
yeah.
were you about to say?
I know. I was just saying. They realize that their fictional writing sucks, so they're like, let's try some, authentic writing, like based on a true story. So kill off any characters that we fire in real life, and you know what? At least they own up to how bad their fictional writing is. Yeah, there we go. That's all I got. So what were you gonna say?
Do you think they will really kill off Jinx?
Um, yeah, I think for a hard to say because this is probably like the last season, isn't it? Hopefully,
Uh,
hopefully I don't have to bang my head
if
against
it
a wall.
if it's the last season, we don't know yet.
Well, if it is, then I could see it. And if it isn't, I'm gonna bang my head against a fucking wall because I don't want to watch another season of this. But nonetheless, I think they'll at least do it for a short period, but not permanently, unless this is the last season and they're already planning it to be the last season and they had her plan to be killed off permanently prior and not live at the end. So that's all I'll say there. It's hard to it's impossible to tell with
Yeah.
Titans because it's literally not based on the writing whether somebody dies permanently or not. It's based on real life. So we'll just have to wait on the actor update. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how. That's when you know it's a good show when you get death announcements by actors' contracts and not the show.
Oh my. Yeah, that summarizes well the issues. Now, this episode, I like Sebastian aspect of it. Connor becoming more like Lex, being more of a jerk. It feels good because Connor felt the same for 2 seasons in a row with 2 and 3, but now they mix up things for Connor, and I'm glad they do because now Connor is more of a character than what he used to be in the previous 2 seasons. So he is good. Like I still think Jinx is the best part of this season, but Connor is up there and he is doing a good job. I think. The Sebastian backstory is a villain backstory, and it's very interesting how the mother frame it this way to turn him into the monster he wants to be. Now, thinking back to the episode, I will actually say this. Uh, I didn't have that issue at first watch, but I think back to the episode and how Connor is stupid to go beat down the witch by himself. It was ridiculous. He is supposed to be smart. He is more relaxed, so going there without a plan made no sense. So that's actually another issue there. I really didn't like the fact that Connor is framed to be more smart and more like Lex, but still end up like going after the witch alone because he think he can handle her. Man, bruh, it makes no sense. Um, Looking back, that episode is actually worst because he's getting captured because he's dumb. Oh my, I'm laughing. It's so bad. Um,
Yep.
I will admit it. I enjoyed the big action sequence and how they revert back the moon from red to normal. Now they will probably magic their way out to save the world because I don't see the world really ending. I mean, there are still like 7 episodes to this season because I think it had like 13 episodes. So they will find a way to fix everything. Um, Sebastian at the end willingly choosing the wrong path despite his bond he made with Raven was interesting, and it felt also right based on his backstory and the witch, the bad witch influence. Because without the bad witch influence, he would still remain a good guy at some extent. Um, Jinx speaking to Raven about her powers, about these powers not being really lost. That was interesting. I'm like, okay, so they only pretended to be like uh, taking that route for Raven. So I'm fine with her still having her power. I want her power back. Um, so yeah, I think that's it for this episode. That episode is actually worse when I think about it. So what would be your grade for this episode?
Um, let's give it a 2.75. Let's go with that.
Very good. I
Yeah.
give a 7 after thinking more about it. Yesterday, well, actually Monday, when I was watching it, I first gave a 7.5. But with this new issue I added with Connor being stupid when he should be smart, only for the plot to happen, I lower it down to 7. I mean, doesn't
No,
deserve
again, the
7.
reason why there hasn't been like the reason for my fucking low rating system on every episode, even if there's like some that aren't as terrible as might seem, is just like again, I judge on many things that other people don't. Like again, editing, directing, cinematography, and all that shit. I think the show just does horrendous at like every episode, pretty much. So it drops down, and then the writing, of course. So it's just and then just not being a fan of the show in general, and like the ideas and the premise, like it automatically drops it down to like a failing grade almost every episode. There may be like 2 episodes. There may be like 4 episodes maybe that I've given like a 4 out of 10, which is the sign of like watchable at least, but that's not at least painful. Yeah, I've been taking a couple shots of vodka since talking about this. So
Bro, that season is so rough. I think so far, based on the first 6 episodes, I don't know about the back half, but based on the first episode, it's the worst season. They have so many good ideas. They just have these awful writers that don't know all the fuck they need
yeah,
to write their
yeah.
ideas.
So anyway, you want to move on, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I'm actually excited to see how bad it can become after the break. So I'm looking forward for for the show to come back and suffer again.
When's the break over?
I actually don't know, but I'm assuming because it's a December break, it's probably for the holidays. So I'm assuming January. But
Yeah,
because it's CGI heavy, actually, never mind. It's no more CGI heavy. They got off the cost of CGI. Yeah,
yeah,
I expect
yeah.
January.
I mean, if you're watching Titans on Christmas, there's something wrong with your life.
Yeah, I think it will be back in January or maybe February if they really need to rework CGI. I don't know if they are done
Yeah,
shooting this season. I know when they aired Stargirl, uh, the third season, they were already done shooting and editing and everything. And like when the show came back in August, they were done filming and shooting since like March or April. So
yeah.
they were really in advance. I don't know how Titan worked because I don't care enough for the show to look into it. But I know Stargirl was already ready. Like if Titan is ready, I think in January it's back. If they are not ready, I suspect February. I don't think it will be longer than like 2 months because the longer you wait until your show come back, the less likely your viewer will come back. So even if they are bad at making the show, I don't think they are bad at marketing it. Maybe they are, I don't know, but I hope they are good at something. So yeah, I guess we can move on to 28 Days Later. What did you think of the movie? Cool.
Oh fuck! Why do I keep forgetting to unmute? I think the alcohol's kicking in anyway. Okay, so there's some films I've talked about before that left like an impression on me for their genre. Like, damn, I didn't know that you can actually do something that creative and good with a premise like that. And yeah, some of them I've recommended, to you so far. Some of them I might in the future. But yeah, there's certain things. I mean, one of them I doubt will ever watch because it's in subtitles. But I mean, but just for an example, the Host 2006. That for me like made me realize how amazing like foreign films and monster films can be. And then yeah, 28 Days Later I watched when I was really young, and that was the case with me with the zombie genre. And yeah, this did a lot of first things for its time. That and after the George Romero films and other films, yeah, this did a lot of stuff for its time though. And I thought it did an excellent job. Now there are some things that don't hold up well with it as well. Like there is the pacing of it. It does go like shorter by at points than I remember, especially when they're like traveling and stuff, which might be a good thing though, because I know you don't like just that long slow scenes the characters walk in.
Yeah,
And I
it's
and there
pointless
are
scene for me.
yeah, and the the cinematography, like it went for this old like footage, style, and for its time it was amazing. Now, I mean, it's 50-50. Like it's a little bit distracting because of the quality compared to now, like nowadays. But I mean, it also works well with it. It's 50-50. But I mean, I don't know if like the choice of it, doing like that old footage for it, that and like a bit blurry at points, was the best option. But I mean, and then also the when they got to the military base, that did drag on for too long, I would say. But I get it was like kind of the climax of the film, but still, I thought that had scenes that dragged on for way too long and stuff. And compared to the rest of the film, but yeah, outside of like that and like some small nitpicks here and there, though, yeah, I thought this was an excellent film. Great performances. Yeah, this really did a fantastic job with the zombie movement for its time. Like one of the first that did this type of thing,
Yeah,
and the production design was fantastic, especially in the church. I really love the story. It's a basic story, but it does it like almost flawlessly. Just the simplicity of it, and yeah, and the especially in the intro, just like how it started, uh, which is like kind of realistic. especially for them to just like act that way to open in the fucking cage. Like I wouldn't call it a plot device. Like it is pretty realistic, honestly, with how they act. Those people, they would just do that and not listen because they wouldn't believe it. Yeah, and yeah, there's not too much to go into detail because it's a very basic like story.
Yeah.
Just post-apocalyptic story. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and the lead in this, yeah, Cillian Murphy. Yeah, he was in a bunch of Christopher Nolan films after this, and he's going to be the lead in Oppenheimer. And
Yeah.
then also Naomi Watts is in it, and then I forgot. Is this the guy that I think it is in as the Let me see. Yes, Brendan Gleeson. Yes, so he, the father character, Brendan Gleeson. Yeah, he's gonna be the supporting in the one film I recommended for this for the next week. This week,
Yeah.
the Banshees of Inisherin, one of them. Yeah, he's also gonna be in. He's also in that as the supporting character. So yeah, that's a good timing, I guess. But yeah, great actor. Yeah, I'll let you. Yeah, again, if there's anything else I need to say or or pops up in my head, like again, I didn't write notes for this, and yeah, while I'm hearing you talk, then I'll say it. But yeah, not too much else to say. But yeah, just a really well made film and really enjoyable, and I just love all the zombie stuff it did for its time, and yeah, thought it was pretty freaky. Like again, some things don't hold up as well, but overall, I still think it's pretty excellent film,
Yeah.
especially. Yeah, but anyway, so what did you think though? Because I'm
So
curious what your flaws and positives were.
actually, I will start by saying this. Not my kind of movie. However, I was surprised how good it was. Um, Now that I think more about the movie, I just found out maybe two ish more issues I didn't really mark down. So we'll start with the two issues I didn't really mark down because I didn't really thought about it. Uh, the first one is how convenient that the father and his daughter are still at home and they light their light, so the main character and the girl that was with him uh, spot on the light, that's very convenient. Convenient light. Like, what if? Actually, there's a third issue. Actually, that third issue came up to my mind. I will bring it after that. But what I mean by there is, what if someone else went before um, them? Would they leave that city? I don't think so. So that really changed the entire plot. The fact that they spot on that these lights on the building, and the fact that nobody else before them I've seen these lights to go meet with
Yeah, well, I will
the
say we don't
survivor.
know like the timestamp of like when all that happened and stuff, and when they did that, when they put up the lights. So again, plot holes like that, I understand if you have those issues
Yeah.
with them yourself, but that for me personally, I don't really care as much about them for those reasons because we
Well,
don't know exactly like the timestamps and stuff, and it's not as important for me personally, but I understand.
like when I find plot holes like that, I do take away points because I'm not the best one to find plot holes. That's why I don't consider myself the greatest critic. But when I do find them out, it's an issue for me, and I need to take out points for that. So, um, next issue, I actually thought about it when we were discussing about it. I was actually thinking about the movie, the pacing of the movie, because you mentioned pacing. Before you mentioned pacing, I didn't thought pacing was hinting, but here's the thing. I was thinking more about the movie and what I would have taken out, and that led to another issue. That whole thing where they go on the rooftop to showcase how they collect the rainwater. I'm
Yeah.
like, there was no true point to that because they don't stay in the building. That could have been a great plot thread if the story was them surviving in that building there. But it's not the story. The story is them leaving that building. So that whole
Well,
scene
I
on
think
the
the
rooftop.
point was it was to show like what they tried. Well, I think what they're showing is like how those two survived for so long. They relied on all the mainly on all the stuff in their own building and like his experience before with his past job and collecting rainwater. But then lately there's been a drought with that, and now that's why they're moving out soon. And I think that's what it was trying to explain, like how they survived, like their, because we saw their side of like how they survived their tactics, and then we saw theirs, and then they kind of combined and then move out.
Yeah. Um, Now, um, I have another mini issue, but this one won't take away your point. It's more like the writer probably didn't know, but Pepsi and Coke, these drinks, they don't. I forgot the name. When you're thirsty, after drinking these, you have the illusion you're no more thirsty, but it doesn't really help because of the sugar, and you will still be thirsty after that, but you won't realize it because your body took a fluid. Do you know what I mean? Like, it
Oh yeah,
hydrates
no,
you.
I think that's the point of it though. Like like because I'm sure they did do have some water or at
Yeah,
like some point, but it's scarce. So and that's like kind of the point. They're using that to like survive like off of adrenaline and like
yeah,
getting headaches and stuff. By like kind of like as like energy drinks. For like a short period. Like that's I think that was like intentional to show like how desperate their situation is right
yeah.
now.
So that's why I did this one. I don't take out points for that. Now, the third issue I had that I thought about when thinking about the movie was how
Oh,
convenient that the
oh, I
father.
know, I know, I know, I know, I know which one. Hold on, hold on. Okay, I know you're going to talk about that one, but before we get to that one, let me take a guess on what another one's going to be. How he survived the shooting.
Nope.
Wow, you didn't have a problem with that. Okay, never mind. Damn, I'm surprised. Okay, well, anyway, but yeah, so I guess you're leaning towards someone with the fodder. Yeah.
Yeah, when they enter that new city, and the father get infected by the blood of someone else. Now, it was explained that the blood is what infect people, and I like that explanation. But it's very convenient that the father just happened to find a corpse. The corpse just happened to be fresh, so blood are dripping over that corpse and goes into the father. So I think that was
Oh, I don't
very
know if it was that
convenient.
fresh. It was just, I think the crow opened it up. Some left.
Well, I still think it's very convenient that the blood entered the father's system only for the father to get killed.
Yeah,
Um,
well, you do have to remember these are zombies.
well,
So the guy didn't like die right away in the apocalypse. So he was a zombie. So the blood in the zombie was fresh, and then it like must have died recently by scattering away at it by like crows and stuff. But I mean, like yes, you could call that like a bit of a plot convenience. But I mean, I do. But again, I do think like that scene did have like purpose to it. Like
yeah, it adds
it had a lot of
purpose. Some
no, it
plot
has a lot of
convenience.
purpose to it, and to like show you things, but it is a plot convenience. Yes, I will give you that. However, what I will say is that when you're in when with any apocalyptic film like this, almost any pretty much like there's always going to be things that are like how did this character die like or like really it died like that, but it does happen all the time. Like crazy shit happens to us humans all the time, so it's not completely unrealistic. And it's just like one tiny mistake, and boom, and that's what it was showing. But also like no matter what the cause was, I think like with almost any character, there would be like no matter how any character dies almost it's going to be considered a bit of a plot convenience, maybe like like why did they have the lights on at night that got the one guy killed near the beginning, like they should have known if they were surviving that whole time. They should have told him in advance, or like like how did when they lined up those two people with the main character, how did he survive the shooting, or like how was he able to kill those people in the place, like why didn't the guy fucking run away when he had no bullet? Like, yeah, I don't know. It's like there's many things you can pick apart in like apocalyptic films like this, but the main because that's just how it is. Because you can easily say if anything like that's a little unreal, or that you could have avoided it by doing this. But we're all humans. Stuff like that happens all the time, ridiculous stuff like you'll just like next thing in the morning you'll stub your toe in a retarded place that you shouldn't have at all in a million years. It's like so that's why for me personally I don't care as much, but I understand with you why you do. I do.
I try to be as critical as I can with everything, and
Yeah.
I give that treatment to everything, even things I liked. That's also why
Yeah, again,
Flash
for me, like
season
plot
one
holes, the
works.
main things that I really care about with plot holes is stuff like fucking Looper. Like I don't know if you saw that film, but yeah, like stuff that just genuinely, just stuff when when the world sets up like their own rules and then they break it. That's the main thing that I care about. Like I don't, unless it's like so ridiculous or like unreal that it's just retarded. Like I can't think of any off the top of my head, but maybe like oh some death from like Eternals or something. I don't know, but unless it's some or Thor, Love and Thunder, but unless it's something like that, that's mainly the plot holes I care about. Just if they set up rules and then they break it, like if a fucking character got bit by a zombie in this, but then they didn't turn for some reason, and it's not because they had a fucking cure. Like that stuff is the main thing that I just care about when it comes to like flaws.
Yeah. So now these are the two issues I had marked down. The first one.
Yeah,
Uh,
also, I'll actually quickly say this. Yeah, I thought of actually a better example. You might have not seen the film, but World War Z, another zombie apocalyptic film. Here's a good plot hole that I'll get behind. The main character, he was bitten by a zombie, and he counted to 12 to see, on the edge of a building that, Brad Pitt to see if he would turn, and then he didn't. So he's like, must have a cure because he saw a zombie. No, because he saw somebody else earlier in the film get bit by a zombie, and he counted to 12, and that's when she turned. All right. However, and that's what he's been using as the whole thing this whole time. Like a lady got bit by a zombie, and he chopped her arm off, and
yeah,
he counted 12, and he's like, okay, so you're safe. You're not going to turn. But wait a minute. Earlier in the film, like in between those timestamps, he was talking with people, and he's like, how long did it take, to see somebody turn into a zombie? And be 12 seconds, 2 or 3 minutes. So wait, they said it took 2 or 3 minutes for them to see people. So it's random. So why are you using that as a whole? They just broke their own rules.
yeah,
They broke their own rules because they just said it's basically random, but he's been using it the whole time now as a 12-second rule. So yeah, I just wanted to say that as an example. Like that type of plot hole in a zombie film. Now that's something I would get behind. But anyway, continue with your two things you wrote down. Sorry.
yeah. The first one is how convenient the survivor happened to be around the church to save the main character. It's very convenient. Very, very convenient. And these are key characters that just happen to be around at the right time, right moment, and yeah, I that bothered me because then the entire
Yeah.
plot goes there. So when I've seen that scene, I was like, well, the movie will be like that the entire time. I was glad
Yeah.
it wasn't
Well.
like that the entire time. I was very glad, but
Yeah. Yeah. Like that. That one I will agree with. That one, and that also brought like the pacing issue for me. I thought when I first watched it, the chase scene there, I thought it was like way longer than it was in my memory, but it was pretty short, and I was kind of disappointed. I'm like, that's some quick pacing, and then in stuff like the military scene, it was pretty long pacing. I'm like, God damn it. But yeah, that one I'll agree with. That was a little like just how they came out of nowhere like that. But I mean, what just to maybe like give them the benefit of doubt though. Like again, they've
no,
been those two
never.
characters were scouting. They were at the area, the whole time for like a year or so in the apocalypse, or however long, or well, 28 days later, maybe I don't know, however long it was, and they were with everybody dead at that point. It was pretty quiet. So any noise they hear like of a character like because that's the thing. They heard the character yelling the whole time. He was yelling that whole time. So they must have heard like and followed the screams of him yelling, "Hey, hello, anyone there?" And eventually caught up to him. Then he went into the church, and then they were like waiting outside. They didn't want to get because they knew that shit. They knew they didn't want to take the risk. Obviously, they were like hiding out, and then they saw him running out. So then they threw the cocktails and like saved him. So that's a logical explanation. That or again like they hear zombies like running around and stuff and all that. It's like after everybody died, it was quiet the whole time. Like they would hear zombies like on the ground or like walking, but nothing like that unless they get spotted by some. So which they didn't. So when they heard that, they must have knew that there was like they were chasing somebody obviously, or else they wouldn't act like that. So I'm just saying those are two logical things that you can like come up with. Like the thing is though is that they, and I will say like it was not for nothing. When he got to like the shelter they were at, there was a line of talking about like how he was like yelling like, "What the fuck were you doing? Just yelling out there, you idiot!" Like, like, "Oh, you just woke up for the hospital." I see. So they did kind of explain it in the writing, like how it, they probably reached him, like heard him there, the whole time. So they did kind of explain it. It isn't just like an total excuse. So I'll say that.
Next issue. Remember when they set off the rule never go somewhere alone? And later on in
Yeah.
the movie, I rolled my eye when the main character decided to go inside the burger house because he was like, "I will go pick up some burger." Like at that point, it was predictable a zombie would be inside, and it was very convenient for him to not think of it and just go there because he wants some burger. And I think the payoff at the very end is you killed someone and he's like, "Yes, a boy." I I was kind of fine with that payoff, but as I said, it's still an
Yeah.
issue for me because it's very trope like to just go somewhere alone in a horror movie with zombies. Like something will
Yeah.
happen. So I was like, "Oh my
Yeah,
god,
that is very trope like. Like again with zombie and apocalyptic films, many tropes. It's hard to get away from them, but it did do something a little different because again, those are mainly used for like a character death or like a big jump scare.
yeah,
But for the most part, I mean, he kind of like knew something was in there the whole time and handled it pretty well. So that was different. Like you would expect it, see him struggle and then somebody help him out, but no, he handled it by himself. And I think so. It wasn't as much of a trope. Honestly, he did something new. But also, I think that was like yeah, they said never go alone. I
he
think
goes
that
alone.
the point. I think the point of that was like again, they're also they don't know like there's no like written rule of how to survive a zombie apocalypse. So I think the point of that scene was like him like learning more and like adapting, like upgrading his skills, like that like fucking upgrading in a game like next level, like
Yeah, and he
you
was
know like
he was also very lucky it was a child because if that was a man, an adult, the struggle wouldn't be that real because maybe he would get overpowered. That's also why they don't go somewhere alone. This is also why I was really rolling my eyes. I was like, oh, lucky this was just a kid. Now, the struggle is not physical but mentally because they're like, it's a kid. I don't want to harm a kid, but the moment you overcome it, that kid is no more threat. And if that was a full grown man, the threat would be more physical, and it would be also harder for the main character to overcome another adult if he's caught by surprise like that. So I think that whole scene is really like the guy survived all the flock and it was stupid and he's the kind of character that should have died there, even if he's the main character. And that's why that's an issue for me. So, yeah, I think overall the movie, as I said earlier, I liked it. It was entertaining. The pacing was good. I liked the pacing. Because I feel like the
yeah.
zombies movie like that, yes, they can do some world building, like the rooftop scene, but like I want zombies action. And I feel like there was a lot of the depth of the story in the mental of these people, and it was also grounded for a sci-fi type storyline. It was very grounded. I like the fact that it was very grounded because it was realistic how that city was shut down and how people were surviving.
Yeah.
Uh,
Also, just a correction. Apparently, I said Naomi Watts instead of Naomi Harris. Jeez, I keep mixing up the fucking names. Jesus Christ. My bad. Anyway, continue.
also liked a lot like the kind of opening scene where the virus infected activists and scientists involved. That's like,
Yeah,
don't mess with things you don't know. That's a lesson for both party, and I
yeah,
like that a lot because they messed up with things they didn't know. Like these activists, they were like, animal cruelty like that is wrong, but these scientists are like, yeah, but don't mess with that, and they end up messing with that, creating a coffin for both. It was very well written. I really liked that opening scene, and I think it gave the very dark aspect to the movie. I liked. It starts off the movie in a one of the best way you can start off a movie like that. I think. The music throughout the movie was really good. The church scene was intriguing, and I liked it a lot. I was like, how did everyone die and not him? And then you find out as the movie goes on that it was a virus and it wasn't infected, but other people were, and there was a bloodbath, and that was really good. I liked the chase scene, um, despite the plot convenience of just the survivor happening to be around. Outside of that, I liked the chase scene a lot. Every chase scene, I liked them. There was tension, and they were well done. Considering it was nighttime most of the time, I think the lightning was really good. Um, the meeting with the survivor was good despite the circumstance. The staircase scene where we see the main character like fading away, becoming weak, and then they are being chased. There was a lot of tension there. I liked it a lot. Um, Killing the infected. These skills were really interesting. Um, when they had a flat in the tunnel after they said it was a bad idea, I'm like, yeah, that's what happened when you follow bad ideas. I was laughing at the scene. I wasn't rolling my eyes, and I think it was a good scene because they should have listened to the guy that said we should take a longer road. um, Even if I didn't like how convenient the dad got infected, I still liked how he died because that was emotional. He was like, "I love you, my daughter," and then pew pew pew, he dies. I also liked how smart they were, leaving like on the roads, fuel, and a store for food and water. And I usually I nitpick for plot convenience, but I do think in a post-apocalyptic world, that makes sense that some truck are just left there because some people may have run away or maybe some people may have been killed and transported elsewhere. So I'm sure at some point they would have found that truck for the fuel, so I was fine with it. The landmine blowing up, man, that was dark. The
yeah,
military,
that's
man,
pretty
they were
dark.
the perfect villains. The action, the big action piece by like the last half an hour of the movie was really good, and the kind of plot twist of them accepting the girls just to like rape them, that was really dark, but that was realistic. Uh, the idea of this movie is really good. It was a well done movie, and I was very entertained. And I think one of my favorite scenes is when Anna was driving the car and she basically sent one of the military guy getting killed by one of the zombies. That scene, man, that scene. I also think the ending was good, and it was surprising because for most of the movie felt grounded and realistic, and it was dark. It was a dark movie, but at the end, we have some kind of happy ending with that plane and them just waving their hands, saying "Help us," "Hello," and that ends
Yeah,
a very dark movie on a somewhat happy note, and
yeah,
it
and
feels
there's a
earned.
sequel to this.
it,
Yeah,
it, it,
um,
it feels earned. It feels earned because they had so much struggle and they deserve that kind of ending. Um,
oh yeah, and yeah, I'll tell you, there's a, so yeah, I mean, next. and we'll be watching the sequel to this. And yeah, I'll tell you right now, yeah, it isn't great or excellent like this one was, but it's. I still thought, I just thought I would throw it in there, and we might as well watch both because
Yeah.
I do think it's still all right or solid, but yeah, it definitely doesn't live up to the potential as the first. I will say though, the first 15 minutes of it is definitely the peak. That was pretty great, and 28 weeks later. But outside of that, it starts to kind of drop off from there. But I mean, I'll let you see when we watch it.
Yeah. Um. So, I think we are ready to move on for the grade of the movie. What was your grade for 28 Days Later?
I'll give it like around it's like around an 8 or 8.5.
Very similar to me. After thinking back again, as I said, with all of the issues I mentioned, I think the final score I would give is 8 out of 10. Before I thought about the movie and before I found these three issues, I was giving 9.5. But the more I thought about it, the more I was like, it doesn't deserve 9.5. Even if I enjoyed it, even if I liked it, it doesn't deserve it. So I think 8 is very fair considering the three issues I added. Um, yeah, I think it was a very entertaining movie. And out of the movies where I gave 8 out of 10, I think this is probably my favorite. I feel like I've been seeing that a
Yeah.
lot. But
Yeah,
among
like,
the
again, there's
sequels,
definitely some things in this that don't like age or hold up well, but what it does, well, it does so well, in my opinion, and for a zombie film with the genre usually being pretty piss poor. Like, there's really only one zombie film ever that I would even think about giving a 10 out of 10. And again, with what, when I watched it when I was younger and, what it made me realize what the genre can do, like, yeah, that's why for the high rated. Like on a personal level, it gets like a 9 for me, but on an objective level, it's like an 8 or 8.5. So
yeah, it was a good experience. I like that movie. And among the eights, I think that would be the only one I would be like, I want to see it again. I think. So, any closing thoughts before we move on to Stargirl, season
no,
three,
but yeah,
episode
all I'll
three?
say is that yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how. And unless it surprises me, I'm sure the will be lower than the first, but so I'll be interested to see how lower.
Yeah, I'm also interested to see what happens next with the sequel. I hope it's a watchable sequel.
It doesn't connect to the original characters. It's different, but it is in the same universe, and it kind of like lead the ending of the first does lead to something like how the second starts after the first 15 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. So, Stargirl, what did you think of that season finale?
Well, I was kind of disappointed, but it's still good, I guess.
I will say the same. Actually, I was surprised. It was probably the weakest episode this season, but they did better than what I expected. I expected a train wreck. I expected something that ruined the entire season.
Yeah, well, I mean, considering everything, you can't blame them for the train wreck, even if it was. But
Yeah, but at the end, I was glad of the result. That wasn't the train wreck I expected. That was actually really good. As usual, I will start off with my issues, and the first issues I marked down as question mark. We will speak about that just like one of the past issues I had, and we will see if it sticks or if I nitpick too much. Uh, Pat escaping the burial. I was never buried alive, so I don't know how it feels like. But I feel like plot armor is on 2000 for him to make his way out and surviving being buried alive. But here again, I was never buried alive, so I don't know how it feels like. And what's your take on it? Do you think it's a fair concern to think it may be plot armor that saved Pat, or yeah, what's your take on that?
Oh, well, kind of, yeah, if they at least, like, showed it, maybe, like, a shot while he was, like, digging out, then sure, because there are ways people, you can dig out even, like, tide or something, like, there are simple ways, like, like, you can look it up, but they didn't show it, so, and especially with, like, how much dirt he put on him, it's, kind of a plot hole, yeah, but, I mean, yeah,
Okay,
plot armor.
yeah, plot hole. Yeah, plot hole. Okay, that's why I wanted to have that discussion. So that's official. That's my first issue. Pat getting buried alive. Now, I'm finding he's still
Also,
alive.
I will say, even though you don't care about CGI, and not to say the CGI was bad for the most part in this episode, and since they put budget in it to try to make the finale, good, even though they didn't, they were filming two, so it obviously is the same budget as a regular one. The CGI when Starman was flying, he looked like an action figure. Honestly, that was pretty poor. But outside of that, it was all right, I guess.
Okay, okay. Okay. Next issue I had teleportation of Pat to the battlefield. What I mean by there is we don't see him going at the shop to get his armor. We don't see him learning where they will be and what they will be doing. And I don't think anybody told Pat where they were doing and what they were doing. So how come he just teleport to the battlefield with the machine on and everything? That really bothered me a lot. I was like, we are in for a great season finale fight, and they pull off that kind of teleportation crap. Um, it's not properly set up of him joining the battlefield. I, what did you think of that? Am I crazy to point that one out?
No, not really. That's accurate.
Okay. Plot armor
Also,
because
one thing I have to point out as well. Now, if his staff was buried with him, then I would understand more because it, power and stuff. But how did his body not decompose after all that time?
yeah, well, based on what we see, I don't think time is really a thing. I don't think it wasn't. I don't think it was that long. I don't think it was buried very long underneath the ground. I think it was like a few minutes, but even there, I still think it's a stretch of him surviving a few minutes without oxygen or breathing or having mud in his freaking mouth. Yeah, that mud thing, man. I think we should move past that one. We clearly see plot hole there, and we've already pointed this one out. So I don't think there's a point of trying to dig any deeper into that issue there, if you know what I mean. Pun intended. um, Plot armor, man. Plot armor. Um, I feel like that fight had no real tension because we knew the good guys will win. And I feel like plot armor was kind of crazy on everyone involved. And Pat plot armor was also crazy. How he was taking hits and how uh, the humanite cannot freaking aim at him properly and was just shooting over everywhere except on him. I feel like Pat should have died in that fight scene like many times, and he's not the only one that should have died in that big fight scene. So yeah, what's your take on it? Plot armor on people during that big fight.
Yeah, well, plot armor, but mainly I just was disappointed by the big fight because it was just a rehash of the other fights. There wasn't much different, honestly. It was just, and it was predictable, and it was just disappointing. It was just like a waste. It, there was like no stakes to it. You knew what was gonna happen, and honestly, I'm not saying the fight choreography was bad. I'm just saying like the reason each fight happened, how they ended, just the whole thing. It was just poor and lazy and just weak. It was just a waste of time. It was just like this is the finale. This is the last fight of the It's like holy fuck. It's like it's like it's like all these fights with everyone besides Starman. It's like they shouldn't even have started. It's like holy fuck. It's like this is just a waste of my time. I didn't like it. I didn't.
So I'm done with my issues. Would you like to add more issues before I move on to what I liked about that episode? Because there's a lot of things to mention.
Um. No. Well. I don't know. Well. Uh. I'll say is maybe right how what do I say yeah I'll say the performances by some people in this episode were surprisingly weaker compared to every other episode this season. It's like they're annoyed they had to film two endings and it's like they half-assed this one hoping it gets renewed because holy fuck like honestly Courtney's performance in this episode was not very good at all.
I agree. I agree. She seems sad to see that adventure ending, and I'm also
Yeah,
sad because that show was
actually,
amazing.
that's
That show was amazing, and it's sad to see it go this way. Um, yeah, I think that sum up the issues. Now, what I like, well, the opening scene explaining like how they place humanite in the body was interesting. I liked it a lot. The Justice Society meeting was good. Icicle was okay. Icicle. He is in my likes because of the actor, but here's the thing. I said it in my season overview. I feel like Icicle used to be a great villain in season one because he was more than just a villain. He was also a character. He had motive. He had backstory. He was
doesn't have much of a motive in this one outside of just kill.
he in season one. He had multi dimension to his character, and this is what made him such an amazing villain. But this season, um, now this is more a thing about the entire um, season more than this episode. Icicle feel like he is just a villain to have a threat, and he is just a villain because villain. And I think it's sad. Now, with that aside, I still think Icicle was entertaining to watch and see, but it wasn't as good as season one. Um, Now, despite my nitpicks during that entire fight scene, I liked a lot that action sequence. The entire action scene was really good for me. I liked it a lot, despite plot armor and stuff. I still think like episode 9 added better. Um, but this one scale maybe in the middle, like weaker than week 3, but better than week 6. So actually, it's more like bottom, but not the worst. Um, yeah, that episode did a really action packed episode, and I was invested into both fights. Cindy versus her father, that was interesting. That was fun. That was funny. I was rolling my eyes because it was funny, with Jakeem saying weird stuff with for the duty to save Cindy and
Yeah, that's
turning
pretty funny.
the father into a plushie or something. I like that a lot. Um, the grandmother killing herself. Her hatred killed her. She wanted to kill Yolanda, but she failed doing so. She killed herself. I think that was ironic and that was good. That was well done. Um, the action sequence here again. Cameron versus Icicle. I liked it a lot. Father versus son. That was amazing. That was Phil. I feel like the build up to it was good. The fight choreography was also really good. I think. The emotional twister with Cameron Like he didn't know which side he should be on. I like that dilemma, that kind of division. Like he didn't know what to do. Either it's his friend or his father, but he knows his father is wrong, but he cares for his father. So that aspect of the conflict was amazing. Even if Icicle wasn't that great, the conflict he brought was really good. Um, Courtney and Pat's scene after the fight was amazing. In the staircase where Pat says he aired everything, that was good. Man, after all the action went down, I was actually surprised we had roughly half an hour of closing storylines. And that half an hour had no pacing issue because this was good storytelling and good closure with good dialogue. Well, maybe I praised the show too much, but that's all I felt when I was watching. I really liked all how they really tackle each storyline. Courtney Pat felt like a good closure. Rick closure with Betts apologizing, saying he's sorry he did what he did to Betts and her parents. Bet's closure as well was really good. Mike's closure with her mother, or I should say his mother, it was really good. Courtney and Becky scene, another really good scene. Um, Mike's calling Barbara being the mother. Um, that felt earned because the entire show he didn't call her mother or anything. So is storyline reflect Courtney's storyline at some
Yeah.
extent? Because Courtney had her closure with her true father, the jerk one, and Mike also got his own closure with his mother, and I like that because Barbara just tried to do her best, and I think it was really really good overall. What did you think of all of the closures?
I mean, I thought they did the best they could with the closures. There were a couple where I'm like, if they just had more time, it left a little disappointed. Like I wanted to know more, but for the most part, yeah, and yeah, Courtney's closure with, yeah, Cameron was good, I guess. So yeah, that's yeah, there we go. I guess they did
So
the best they could.
I'm also glad Grundy is officially back, and Rick is glad about it, and I'm glad. Cameron closure as well, him accepting the help um, Courtney was offering. Artemis avenging her parents. Man, I was never that happy to see someone getting killed. Icicle deserved it, and Artemis, like, I feel like in season 4, Artemis could have been a somewhat of a interesting villain, but yeah, with that closing scene with Artemis, it she
Yeah,
burned someone alive, bro. She's
yeah,
a teenager that burned someone alive. I mean, it's shocking at some
yeah.
extent, but it's good. What did you think of that?
It was good. I don't think they would have went to the villain route there, but yeah. Um, yeah, I am just. We got one entire episode of a certain character, and that makes me want to cry.
Which which one episode?
You know which one.
I can't remember.
Here, I'll give you a clue.
Uh, Deaths.
In DMs.
Yeah, I've seen it. That's just a death symbol.
No, that's not a death symbol. What does it say?
Oh,
What is it of?
sad face alien.
No, no, no. Hover over it and see what it says. Emote.
I don't know, man. I'm bad at that kind of games.
Oh, really? Oh, what? It's a skull.
It's a skull, yeah. That's right. Oh,
Yeah, so put two and two.
the Elix Dynamic, the Elix group. So here's the thing: they wanted to do a spin-off, but because the show got cancelled, the spin-off will never happen.
Oh, nice. So we got one whole episode with him and the group. Nice.
um,
Yippee.
at least it's one. It's better than nothing, right?
It's just they teased it at the end of season two, and then took all that period of time to get to it, and then it's all one episode, and now that's it.
You're disappointed. I feel you.
Yes. I have to say the ending of this, though. Yeah, I know that's just how they end shows like that. Like normally, like they will, what they'll be, continuing to do, off screen and stuff. Like obviously they live on and not just gonna die, but does that what they showed at the very end though, like does it like is it trying to like lead to maybe trying to do like a on HBO like revive it with another version of the show as you talked about before, but with a different cast, some same cast members, like leaving that open there, like the scene at the very end, or
I think yes, like that scene at the end. I think it's to tell us the adventure is not over. Like the show is over because they are adult now because it's 10 years later. So my guess is whenever they pick up Jesse, they have the option to make a Jesse TV show with adult actors and adult character. Um, so they can basically recast everyone and maybe keep Shade around because Shade was such a beloved character. I think Shade was amazing. Um, the entire show. I mean, he deserves he deserves some credit. He deserves his redemption arc. So I think in the future, maybe if they do a Jesse thing, that may be like the sequel to this. I assume. Um, with adult character, of course. Uh, that's them leaving the door opened, I think, and I liked that ending a lot. It gave me some Smallville ending vibes when Clark is just running and taking off his suit to transform into Superman. That gave me that kind of vibe, and I liked it. That's
yeah.
like how I pictured Stargirl to end. It's just sad that we won't get to see any other adventure with these writers, these characters.
Yeah. And it's
Um,
sad that they had to rush this finale because they have to cancel this. Out of all the shows they could have canceled, you picked this one. This was the best you had.
yeah, so what would be your score for this final episode of
Oh,
Stargirl?
because of the issues, all the loads of issues, because of them needing the rush to end this, it's around a 6 out of 10 or a 5.5 out of 10, which is still all right to solid, but it's not very good. It's not great. It's not amazing like the others. It's just disappointing, but it's at least a solid, close as best as they can do. But yeah, this is easily the worst by far. It's not even remotely close. It's like it's like fucking 3 points whole lower than like the other lowest episode, which was like an 8.5,
Yeah.
and this is like a 6 or a 5.5. So yeah,
So, my score would be 8.5 out of 10 after we discussed about Pat escaping the burial because if Pat escaping the burial wasn't a plot hole, it was a 9 for me. But because this is indeed a plot hole and I am not crazy about that, I decided to give this episode 8.5 out of 10. making this episode the weakest this season. Um, I still enjoyed this season a lot. That
I will say though, you do one thing I will say about the burials. Again, they didn't show it, so I can't, or they didn't, explain it, so I can't excuse them. Unlike some things in film we just reviewed where they did it, kind of explain some things that I brought up, so I was able to say it. But while they didn't explain it, one thing you could say about him, the burial, scene of him, escaping, is that he wasn't watching Pat the whole time, so he
yeah,
doesn't know. He was like too busy talking to himself, looking at himself, and then until the dirt was filled up completely. So we don't know what he was doing. He could have been removed, moving around and stuff, and maybe that was part of his plan. And then he got to like the top more, and that's what that peak was. The over his face. I don't know. Like that's just one thing you can bring up as maybe to give some benefit of the doubt to the writers. But again, they didn't explain it. They didn't show it in like the. They could have like showed some flashback scenes of what was happening in his POV while getting buried alive doing it, and then like him buried under the dirt for a bit, like in the with the camera under the dirt, and then escaping. But they didn't. So
yeah. So now that the season is over, what are your general thoughts about that season?
it was surprisingly excellent. It's actually shocking how good this was. I'm probably gonna give it around a 9 out of 10.
That's good. I think the overall season for me, it's the first time over here. Even if individual episodes have issues here and there, I cannot pinpoint an issue that can tarnish the entire season for me. 10 out of 10. I never do that, but I did it. The entire season, 10 out of 10 for me. Even if some episodes, as I said, have individual issues, nothing is perfect. I still think this was a perfect season for me. I enjoyed it a lot. I think it's my favorite comic book TV show season among all of the ones I've seen. Um, I'm very sad to see it go. This was a blast. This proved that if you have good writers, you can have an amazing female lead.
Even if you're working for CW, you can make an amazing show as long as you have good writers.
And she had struggle. Everyone in the cast had struggle, and overcoming these struggle was what made this show so good. And I think from the start of the show to the ending, every season got better. They were able to improve and build up building blocks that make sense because they had the entire show mapped out. The writer behind the show is the same guy that was in charge from start to end, and he had a game plan. And his game plan was well done, I think. It was really smart, and you can tell the writing was clever because looking back at season 1, 2, and 3, there's not that many big plot holes that can really affect uh, the show, Like, everything was crafted, everything had a reason. And
I agree.
it's genius to think about that. It's very
Oh,
sad to see this show go, and
oh, yeah, it is.
I will.
I'll say right now, something came up, so I do have to like go right now. So,
Okay, you need to go. Oh, okay. Uh,
yeah, but if you want, again, you can keep talking and like close it out whenever you want to on the stream. Up to
okay.
you, obviously. But
Do
for
you,
me personally, I have to leave right now.
okay.
But if there's anything else,
Are you coming back later or you're leaving?
leaving. I believe we're because we covered everything after Stargirl, right?
Yeah. Okay. So I guess we will have the tier list next week then.
Oh, right, the tier list. Shit.
That's fine. We can do
Uh,
it next week.
yeah, okay, yeah, we'll have to do it next week. It just feels weird because this was the last episode of the season, so yeah,
Season
that's
premiere, we
weird.
covered the tier list.
Hey, well, hey, at least well, listen, This is good because now your audience knows that unlike Stargirl, this isn't going to be canceled randomly now because we have to come back to do it.
On Tuesday?
Yeah, next Tuesday again.
Okay, same time.
Yeah. Let's try. This time is let's try to 3:30. 3:30
Pacific
Central
time,
Time.
so 6:30 my time.
Well, Central Time. So it's 4:30 Eastern Time, I believe.
Eastern time for actually.
Oh, you
Uh,
need to do it later.
yeah, 5:30 Eastern time is what I can.
Okay, so 4:30 Central Time. Okay.
Yeah, because what's going on is I start a course in security because I want to go back in security, and my course ends at 4, and I want to eat something before before we
Okay,
stream.
that's understandable. Okay.
So 5:30 is perfect. 5:30
Yeah.
Eastern time.
Got it. Okay, well, yeah, you can close out your stream, I guess.
Thank you.
Whenever you want to. But yeah,
Thank you
see you
very
later.
much. Thank you very much. It's very appreciated for you to come, man. See you later and take care, man.